Holistic Wealth Hustle podcast is presented by Be Wealthy with Pamela, LLC, e-commerce firm of the year by the U.S. Department of Commerce Minority Business Development Agency. We invite you to take the holistic path to wealth. Stop chasing happiness and let joy pursue you. Okay, we're just going to have a little conversation, and we're going to just talk about things that we already, know about. And so right now, with all of the things that's happening in the world, then I thought it would be good to talk about, being holistic, in your business, and talk about how being holistic can help you deal with like workplace drama. So can you think of some things that come to mind with regards to workplace drama without dropping any names of persons or businesses that relate to workplace drama that you've experienced?
You want me to just give you a situation, a workplace drama? That's it?
Yeah, this can be a workplace drama, and then we're going to talk about the benefits of being holistic that can help somebody who's in that type of situation. Jobs that you had in the airline industry or the beauty industry. Sure.
First thing that comes to my mind is dealing with a passenger who was acting like a spoiled brat, pretty much. Someone that wasn't pleased. It wasn't a situation where everybody had assigned seats because our flights were charter based, so the company pretty much paid for the entire plane. So you just fill in the seats until the plane is full. So there was a passenger. She was upset about the seat that she ended up in because it didn't recline back. It was actually one of those seats that's like against a wall, which is understandable to be disappointed or frustrated because it was going to be a long flight for her. But unfortunately, it was a full flight. Somebody was going to be seated in that seat.
But not her.
But
it was her.
She couldn't accept that it was her. So I only worked one leg. And once we got to the place that we were landing at, another crew was coming on to replace us. But the leg that I worked, she pretty much gave us attitude the whole time. She didn't even want to take her meals. She didn't even want to eat. She was just like, no, I don't want it. Leave me alone.
Protested.
Yeah, pretty much.
She was on the food protest.
Yeah, she was on the food protest. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Because
I shall not eat until I am served properly.
And it's like, ma'am, okay, that's your choice. Like I don't have the best seat in the house. I sit in the jump seat and I can't even go to sleep. And then when I do get to go to sleep on a break, it's not the most comfortable, and people bumping me while I'm in my seat, and different things like that. Or people waking me up. Like I've had passengers wake me up on my break to ask me a question.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, you can walk around the plane and find the actual flight attendant that's awake.
Right.
But that's fine, So she was like very upset. And then our rule was, if you're in this zone, because we had like 3 zones of the plane, if you landed in that zone and that's where you're seated, that's where you have to stay. And if you want to change seats, you could change seats with someone within that zone, but you can't move from the front of the plane to the back of the plane. It's just a protocol because there's weight imbalance, protocols and things like that. So it just, keeps everything, organized or whatever. So when she tried to move, we had to tell her that, and then that, made her even more frustrated. So when I told her that, she went and asked another flight attendant. Another flight attendant told her the same thing. And so basically, she made a complaint. So I had to deal with that. But, it was resolved. That's probably like the first most relevant thing I could think of as far as like drama, because I stay out the drama. But yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So how did your practices of holistic, being a person who practices a holistic life, help you on in the workplace with regards to that? Were you able to keep your cool, or did you, kind of put up the dukes and, or you snatch her by the hair, or did you, kind of verbally beat her down? What exactly? How did you handle that situation?
Well, when I'm at work, I always make sure that I remain professional. So, and I mean, it wasn't hard for me to remain professional because I knew my job.
Yeah.
So I just shared with her the reason why I was unable to allow her to move. And I didn't bring any emotions into it and, didn't respond to her or give in to her reactions.
She was kind of like emotionally attacking you to some extent.
Yeah, to some extent. And it was kind of disappointing because I actually met her prior to her getting on the plane. So I thought, I could kind of talk to her in a casual manner and let her know, like, hey, this is, what it is. But as soon as she got upset and wanted her way, the switch just completely flipped. So yeah. So I just remained cool, calm, and collected and professional and just, reiterated to her what the rules were. And I apologized. And I even empathized with her and let her know I understand this is not ideal. And maybe later on in your flight, we were going to be dropping people off. So eventually the amount of passengers was going to decrease later on,
And
maybe by the second or third. Yeah, that would have opened up some seats for her. So yes, I did inform her about that to just give her an opportunity of hope.
Hope is good.
Yeah.
For some people,
I was hoping that would
don't
help.
value hope.
Yeah. So I was hoping that was going to help out, but I mean, she still made the complaint. So
that's how it goes in business sometimes, no matter what you do. How much you bend over backwards, jump up high, or, whatever for customers. Sometimes they just feel like they have the right, to demand whatever it is that they want, regardless of the company's protocols, the reasons, whether either they're trying to protect them, protect the company, protect the employees or whatever. Just follow the rules that the government said or whatever it is. Sometimes that's just not enough for them.
Yeah.
They still think that their demands and their wishes
surpass anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. So what did you do for yourself then because I'm sure even though you were able to leave the emotion out of the way that you interacted with her, still something had to kind of go inside a little bit, to affect you to some extent. So what did you do? What did your self-care do for you? And how did you take care of yourself to make sure that you didn't take it out on the next employee or the next passenger, that may have come in and looked a little bit like her and you're like, oh, this reminds me of that woman. So what did you do to help yourself out with that?
I just had to do some mental exercises to just remind myself that that's just a part of the job. And I commended myself. I had to, because that was something I had to learn over the years, just because, over the time becoming an adult. But I had to still give myself some positive words because I know I did my job. I know I kept it professional. I know I didn't, do what she actually said I did. And I just had to just remind myself of who I am and remind myself of like what I've been taught growing up, to as far as like, my personality and knowing that I was raised to respect people and to treat people with the same respect that I want to be treated with. So just knowing who I am really helped me to move past this situation because initially finding out that she made a complaint was, upsetting because it's like, geez, like I was just doing my job. Like, and then, for you to, escalate it and try to get me in trouble because you weren't happy with your situation.
Right.
Yeah, that was,
Not a mistreatment, but just
it wasn't
you
even a
didn't get
mistreatment. It was
the
just,
top quality product,
yeah,
out of,
yeah,
all of the things that were there. So the best
yeah.
seat in the house.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was strictly out of my control.
Mhm.
Like, and actually, I gave her a heads up because I remember I told you I met her before
Mhm.
the flight,
Yes.
before she even got on the plane. So I actually kind of helped her before she even got on. I told
Mhm.
her, if you really want a good seat,
Mhm.
you need to be in the very last group
Mhm.
of boarding so you can get the last seat. But she didn't.
She
She
didn't
didn't.
miss.
She didn't go far
Oh.
back enough. And so she
Mhm.
missed that opportunity. So,
Mhm.
so none of the blame was really on me. Like I
Mhm.
gave you everything you needed and
Right.
you still,
Mhm.
and that was still my fault. So
Mm.
that I really had to like, just really just encourage myself and just say positive things and not like beat myself up about the situation because I know I did literally everything I could possibly do
Mm.
to give her a pleasant flight and to be professional and to do my job correctly and not put anybody in harm's way. Because a
Mhm.
lot of people forget that flight attendants are safety professionals. We're trained
Okay.
on safety. Our whole
Wow.
training
Yeah.
of 30 days, a whole month,
Ooh.
some airlines longer than that
Mm.
is really all on safety and
Wow.
learning the plane,
Okay.
not how to serve food and
Mhm.
drinks.
Yeah, they think of
So
you guys as snacks and
yeah,
alcohol.
air waitresses.
Right,
We're
yeah.
not that.
Right. Safety
We're literally
professionals.
there
Okay.
for the
Mhm.
safety of the passengers.
Okay, wonderful.
So, I
Mhm.
did everything I was supposed to do, and so, yeah. So for me, and just having to deal with other human beings,
Mhm.
you have to have like a strong, sense of self,
Mhm.
and then you do have to have like some strong mantras that you recite to yourself and that you believe in and hold on to help you navigate through the world
Mhm.
because you can, get caught up in like negativity and
Mhm.
that, it can rub off from other people and things
Mhm.
like that. So I just made sure I didn't let that like just, take over my mood.
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful. Oh, speaking of that, Joel Osteen had a wonderful message on choose your mood. Did you get a
Hmm.
chance to listen to it? Yeah, have you never heard of it? Well, it was really good because he talked about, that things happen all of the
Hmm.
time. He
Right.
talked about a multitude of things that happen, even one involving, his sister-in-law and, things that happened in their life and their marriage and their family. And he talked about, it's up to you to choose your mood and to decide that no matter what is happening, you still have control over that. And
Hmm.
so despite what is going on, then you can still, move forward and not just pretend, like as they say, fake it until you make it, but
Hmm.
you can really literally help yourself to feel good in the moment, even when
Hmm.
chaos is going on. And that's,
Hmm.
one of the things that you did. So that's
Hmm.
excellent. And so you may want to, once you do get a chance to listen to Joe Osteen, you can let him know that he was correct.
I make sure I leave a comment.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So wonderful. So now you mentioned that you have to have a mantra. Do you have a specific mantra that comes to mind that helps you out in those types of situations? And you also mentioned about being raised well. And I want everybody to know that this is my daughter who just got through talking about, being raised well. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine how big my heart is feeling right now? And even my head is kind of getting a little big as well because of she talked about how well, she was raised, helped her to know who she was as a young woman. And I am so pleased and happy and proud.
Mhm.
So, Joan, tell us, just, share some other good wisdom about what are some things that you can just say to yourself.
I know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not who they say I am.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And not who they're trying to make you to be either. That's
and
good.
it's so
Mm-hmm.
crazy because I have a new mantra that I really love, and I can't even remember all of it right now. But it's essentially like every act. Oh my goodness, I can't even remember it. I'm gonna have to look it up in my phone. But another one that I used to recite a lot was autograph your work with excellence.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I always strive to, that read to me, translated to me to always strive for excellence, always give, 150%
Mm-hmm.
with whatever you do,
Mm-hmm.
even with friendships, work, and just, anything you decide that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one is lean not on thy own understanding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorites as well.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, whose
So
understanding do you lean on?
you lean on God's
That's right.
direction.
Direction. That's right. Absolutely. Yes. His
Yeah.
wisdom and knowledge and, yes,
Right.
and guidance. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. We really appreciate that. Yes, that is absolutely wonderful. So now that you shared with us about, your drama in the air, I'll talk about some workplace drama on the ground. And this is kind of way back, but it was an interesting situation where someone came into the office and they wanted to ask us about getting some contracts. One of the things we did for the government, one of their programs through the U.S. Department of Commerce and the Minority Business Development Agency, which is where I was recently a winner of the 2024 E-commerce Firm of the Year Award. I'm so excited about it.
Congratulations
Of
on
course,
that.
you're going to hear me talking about it about 20 to 50 to 100 times because that's just how proud I am of it. And while we were running that program many years ago, a person came into the office and wanted to know about, how we were helping to get clients, contracts, financing, and helping them to grow and retain jobs. And we were an outstanding center. We helped our clients to achieve over $2 billion, cumulatively over that period of time. And we were one of the first ones that reached that level of milestone. And so this person wanted to know how we did it and wanted to know if they could get any contracts that were left on the table that these companies that our clients didn't want. And the program, had very specific, parameters under which we had to serve. And so I was able to share with the person that there are generally not any contracts that the clients didn't want to accept or do business with. But she did have, this was a lady, and she did have some areas of expertise that could be helpful, that could be collaborative opportunities. And so I talked to her about it, and I said, well, I would love to try to connect you with, some of the businesses that you have something in common with, and maybe you guys can collaborate, on some things, and, they can bring you value, and you can bring them value. And so, but I said, but, she just thought that there were just some contracts laying around on the table or in the garbage can or something like that. So we were like, oh, no, we don't want those, And so, after that, she left out and she didn't seem like she was upset or anything, after I told her that, what I was willing to do for her. How did I know? And she left right out of my office and went directly across the street to the organization that was actually the operator of the program that, we were running. I was a director, and then there was an operator, and the operator was the one that, housed the program. They accepted the contract with the government, and then they hired us to, to run the program on a day-to-day. So this person left our office and went to the operator's office, went straight to the top. Now, normally when I have to go to the top, I have to go through at least 2 or 3 vice presidents to get to the top. But somehow this lady was able to leave directly from my desk and go straight to the top of the organization, at the operator's location. And went up there and told them all kinds of things. The next thing you know, my phone was ringing off the hook, talking about, what happened? What did you tell this lady? Why is she all upset and all this kind of stuff? And so I explained to them, I told exactly, what happened. And so
Mhm.
as far as I can tell, they, didn't try to, hold that against me or,
Mhm.
believe that I did anything wrong because they knew me. They had been working with me for quite some time and they
Mhm.
knew that that's not likely,
Right,
my
right,
character. But,
right.
again, I can't say what their internal conversations were, but like I said, I didn't see any kind of consequences come back to me. But that was amazing to me that, just like you try to, soothe the person, you try to, provide assistance as best as you can because it
Mhm.
wasn't even part of my parameter to serve this person. We had specific goals, metrics, and rules and regulations that we
Right,
had to follow
right.
because this was a government program.
Mhm.
And so, but like I said, it was amazing how, people just are not satisfied even when you try to give them your best. So I can
Mhm.
completely relate to,
Mhm.
what you're saying. And
Mhm.
so, but the good thing about it is like, I asked you about how did you deal with it. I probably wasn't as zen as you were.
I don't believe that. You probably
I
were.
didn't express it outwardly to anyone, to any of the people or
Oh,
anything there.
mhm.
But, I mean, inwardly, I was like, I was having a nice little, stormy conversation about this person with myself.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I get that.
And sometimes that's what you have to do. Sometimes you have to have that pillow talk with
Mhm.
yourself,
Right.
you know.
Mhm.
And matter of fact, it reminds me of one of my favorite movies, which is Bringing Down the House with Queen Latifah
Mhm.
and some of my other favorite characters that were in it. That was so wonderful. But it was one of the scenes was when the gentleman, can't remember his name, everybody loves him, but he was talking to his daughter and he finally talked with her and not talked at her. He talked
Mhm.
with her. And
Mhm.
so she started opening up and
Mhm.
telling him about her life.
Mhm.
But that came with a price because it was like he was hearing
She
all
was
kinds of stuff.
oversharing.
Yeah, he was hearing all kinds of things that he didn't want to hear. And
Mhm.
he was like going to crazy. It's like, oh dear, that is so wonderful. That's how he was. As soon as she left out of the room, he put his head in the pillow and he just screamed.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
sometimes that's what you have to do. You have to let those screams out in the pillow. You have to
Mhm.
have your own pillow talk with
Yeah.
yourself. And then you have to comfort yourself sometimes. And
Yeah.
sometimes we have family members that we can talk to or friends
Mhm.
outside of the workplace
Mhm.
that are going to keep the information confidential and not let it, cause us problems and circle back to the workplace and cause, further
Mhm.
workplace drama. So
Mhm.
we've already been through enough. We don't need for it to, continue on.
Mhm.
So, those are some wonderful things that we have to, try to keep in mind. And then we have to learn from those things. We have to
Mhm.
learn that, we have to uh don't assume that the person is okay. When the lady walked out of my office, I didn't check to see if she was okay, if she liked what I said or anything. She didn't express any kind of anger or anything. So I just
Mhm.
assumed she was okay.
Yeah.
But I didn't ask her.
Right.
And so that's why it kind of took me, by surprise
Mhm.
that she was not okay.
Mhm.
And so those are some of the things that I had to learn as a manager, as a person, that
Mhm.
you really do have to make sure that you're clear and that you're on the same page and both of you are, having the same experience in that conversation
Mhm.
because you can be terribly surprised. And I
Yeah.
even learned that too, with regards to offering help, not just to somebody like that, but even when I hired an employee, I had a real good example. It was not a good situation with it, but it was a good example that I had to learn from. And
Mhm.
so I hired this particular person with the expectation that, I would mentor this person, help them, and things like that because, the person had a nice personality and I really wanted to see the growth in that person, in their career.
Mm.
And so we talked about the job and, we talked about the responsibilities and how with the resources that were available to help the person. So I just assumed that, that meant is that you knew what the job was. You knew that there was resource and that you needed help. That in accepting this job, then you understood that it came with this help and this resources. But I never really asked the person, do you want some help? Do you think that you need the help that I think that you need? And
Mhm.
are you willing to accept the help?
Yeah. Mhm.
And that was one of the hardest, most painful, but helpful business lessons that I have learned,
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
regards to how to avoid the workplace drama. And then it took quite some doing to deal with that workplace drama,
Right.
but we made it through.
Mhm.
It eventually, everything didn't completely end on a good note, but we learned a lot from it. We made some good adjustments from that,
Mhm.
and things like that. So, um,
Yeah, so communication helps,
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. So what are some do you have any ideas? I know that you have a good customer service background because of the things that you done with regards to serving people, not just serving snacks and not
mhm.
just serving
Yeah.
but you have been, from everything from the banking industry to the beauty industry. But I remember telling you many years ago, yeah, I see some money in that beauty that you have because you have lots of it. And so I'm so glad to see you in the beauty industry. And I can see how that can be very valuable to you, how you can be very, very valuable to others. How are some of the, techniques or suggestions that you have that can be helpful to people with regards to serving others and, just helping to make the workplace a nice place for not just the external customers that are coming in to buy, but also the internal customers that you work with, your employees and employers and other coworkers that you work with.
Mhm. For me, number one, like I said earlier in the first conversation is, just remaining professional
Mm-hmm.
to set the tone,
Mm-hmm.
of the environment. So, you know, other people will kind of take away from that and also remain professional too. And I think also just being personable,
Mm-hmm. I like that
and
too.
being genuine,
Yes.
when you're recommending something or if you're consulting someone about, just answering questions and things like that. They could, because people can feel, genuineness
Mm-hmm.
most
Right.
times when they can feel you being personable with them. So that's what I try to focus on. I feel like that has helped me along the way of just building rapport with clients
Mm-hmm.
and keeping
That rapport
clients.
is good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what I try to focus on is just being professional, number one, and being very knowledgeable about what I'm doing and being personable and being genuine. And being honest, as much as you can as far, professionally,
Mm-hmm.
but but
Mm-hmm.
I try to just not try to get over on people or, not that I just don't have that type of personality. I
Mm-hmm.
like to see people smile and feel good about themselves and I like to encourage people.
Oh,
So
good.
I
Mm-hmm.
try to just use my natural skills
Yes.
to
Mm-hmm.
my benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's usually what I try to focus on. That usually works well for me. I've had several customers that after our interaction, they give me a hug or, you know,
Oh,
just,
very good.
when I
Okay.
worked in a shoe store versus like when I worked in a retail store, beauty store. So yeah, that
Oh,
usually
that's
works for
wonderful.
me. And,
Mm-hmm.
people, even if I leave the company, if I reach back out and,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to come back or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, just leaving that lasting impression
Yeah. Good
just
relationships.
yeah, just
Mm-hmm.
helps to maintain and build strong relationships
Oh,
with
okay.
people.
Okay. Well, when you use that word professional a couple of times, it always makes me think about the movie with Denzel in it called Man on Fire. You
Mhm.
remember that one?
Oh, yeah, that's one of my
Ooh,
favorite movies.
yes, indeed. And you remember in the movie, he kept saying, everybody keeps saying I'm a professional. When I keep asking people a question, they keep saying, I'm a professional. I'm a professional. And this actually had a character in it with the last name of Ramos. So,
Mm-hmm.
and
Dakota Fanning.
Dakota Fanning, she played the little girl whose last name was Ramos in it. And she was kidnapped in the movie. And so Denzel was the man on fire. He had to go get the little girl back because they had become friends.
Mm-hmm.
And because was hired as her bodyguard, and on his watch, she got kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was out there trying to get her back. And, Denzel, his character, when he plays, so intense.
Right.
And so, of course, he was not going to let anything get in the way of him finding this little girl and helping her to get back home. And that's why they call it Man on Fire. And so, of course, he had to go through this person and do this to them and, interrogate them and get the, try to get the intel so he can get to the next step. And every person that he came in touch with, they kept saying, "Oh, I don't know anything. I'm a professional. I just do what I'm told."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so went to the next person. And he pretty much kind of disposed of the first person. Then went to the next person, and he pretty much kind of got the same answer. But each time he got a little clue, to move along to the next step. And one of the persons that was really, oh my goodness, it was a real brutal ending for him, based on what Denzel, the way that Denzel took care of him, as they say. But he kept saying, Denzel said, "Yeah, I keep hearing this. I'm a professional. I'm a professional. Why you keep saying that you're a professional?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm glad to know that there are some positive professionals like yourself out there that don't just do what they're told, even if it brings harm to other people.
Right.
And that has been the problem that we've had in this world for a good bit of time, especially, recently people keep saying, "Oh, I was just doing my job." They know that they're hurting someone. They know that they're doing some things that are wrong, but they continue to do them because they say, "I was just doing what I was told."
Mm-hmm.
And so for some people, they really define the word professional as that.
Yeah.
And
true.
so it's really nice to see somebody like yourself and myself as well that, don't do that. Don't define professional in that manner. Well, we are just the opposite. We believe in the do no harm, philosophy, and not just do no harm, but to do well, by others, because we're trying to also do well by ourselves, because we care about our souls, we care about our reputations, we care about our relationships, not with just people on earth, but, our Father on high. So, those are the things that make the difference to us and define what a professional really, really is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really nice and refreshing, to see that. And we want to remind other people that that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And because, the world really teaches us now to be happy. Just be happy. Do you, do what makes you happy.
Right.
Live your best life.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, and sometimes people are not saying that. The ones who advocate that are not suggesting that people live their best life and just walk all over somebody else's life and don't worry about anybody else's life. But sometimes if you don't make it clear that that's what you mean, that sometimes
Set your
people may take it,
intentions.
some
Say
people
your
may take it the
intention.
wrong way and interpret, what you say the wrong way. So you do have to be very clear when we are encouraging people to live their best life and do, what's right, to not just do what's right for you, but just do what's right, based on what is really right, overall. And so those are some of the things we have to make sure that we are very careful about in our communication. As you mentioned, communication is very important. It's key in our relationships, business and in life.
Right.
So those are just wonderful. So what are some of your last little comments that you want to share and, just encourage people for today? If you had something that you just came across somebody and you had no idea what their situation was, and, you just had the opportunity to just say something to somebody, what would you say?
I would say do the inner work. Try to understand what makes you you, and try to. I feel like when people really delve into inner self work, they really learn how to control themselves, and they're more balanced people
Mhm.
because there's so many layers to us that it does take time to, learn why you respond to certain things, why
Absolutely.
certain things trigger you,
Yeah.
why, certain things make you upset or make you happy. So
Mhm.
I feel like there's several things, that you could do to improve your life, but to me, the most effective and like the most important is doing inner work
In
on
works.
yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it. Love
And,
it.
listen to podcasts,
Like this one.
YouTube, like this one here, YouTube videos, books. There's so much out there, and
Mhm.
you'll be so surprised how many people there are that have put out content that are really that has the same questions that you have about
Mhm.
life and yourself and
Okay.
trying to figure things out.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So
Excellent.
if
Mhm.
you're thinking it in your head, if there's an inkling in you that's curious, there's somebody out there that thought the same thing, that had the same feeling,
Mm.
and they probably put it out on the
Mhm.
internet
Okay.
somewhere.
Yeah.
So there's something out there for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that means we're never alone.
Never
Yeah, never
alone.
alone when we think that, this problem is ours all by ourselves. And that
Mhm.
really has been just a thing that has happened throughout the centuries, throughout the decades, that people really lived in silence and anguish and things like that and
Yeah.
lived alone with their
Mhm.
problems because
Yeah.
they really,
Thought
really
they were the
believed that
only
they're the only ones
ones.
that were
Yeah.
dealing with it. But so that's a great
Mhm.
thing to share and let people know. So that's
Mhm.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
You're
So one
welcome.
last thing, just tell us, who are you? You say you know who you are. Tell us who you are. Introduce yourself to everyone.
I mean, I'm a true Aquarius. I'm a true Southern girl.
Mhm.
I'm a true rebel at times. I love people, but I also like to be to myself.
Uh-huh.
So I'm very compassionate and empathetic person. I want to see the best for society
Mhm.
and the world, but I also uh, truly value like my alone time.
Okay.
And so I'm just like a grandchild of Joan Beverly.
That's right.
And yeah,
First.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I feel like I've been blessed to experience a lot of different cultures. So,
Mhm.
I see myself as just a well rounded person. I can adapt in any environment
Mhm.
if I feel like
Okay.
it.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that's Joan.
Okay. And last but not least, just name the top 2 or 3 places that you've traveled that you recommend to somebody that you just enjoyed so much. Top 3.
My top three would be Guam Island.
Mm.
I loved Cape Town, Africa,
Ooh, okay.
and I enjoyed my time in Italy.
Mhm.
I was in Naples, Italy, but there's a lot of other really nice cities in Italy. But
Mhm.
just the food and the culture was really cool. I enjoyed that. Guam is just like another Hawaii.
Mhm.
Just I can't even say less expensive, but it's just as beautiful. And the
Beautiful.
food was amazing, and the culture. I love the culture. And Cape Town was amazing. It was
Mhm.
beautiful as well.
Mhm.
And I just had a wonderful time. So if you haven't been to those places, I
Okay.
would definitely recommend checking them out.
Okay. Well, you have to take me. I've been to none of them.
Yes, and look, if I had enough money right now, we would be there tomorrow.
Okay.
For
Well, y'all
sure.
heard that. Send a sound, please, so we can both go.
Please.
All right. Well, thank you so very much, Joan. You know I love you. I
I
love
love you
all
too.
about you. And I appreciate you for being here today and helping me out with the Holistic Wealth Hustle podcast. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.